I would like to put together two of your ideas. Firstly, the idea of Hitler's second career. The idea that national identity or its defense is something associated with Hitler, so it's wrong. That's the connection some people make. And with that connection, politicians and other people allow and contribute to the colonization of Europe, as you call it. And I think it is the right word for it. So I would like to ask you, this colonization of Europe, and you use intense words like genocide by substitution and the colonization of Europe. You even state that Europe is being far more colonized than it even colonized any other country.
Yes.
So I would like to ask you, how have we been persuaded that the disappearance of our people is something good for the idea of a constant apology to minorities and ex-colonies, let's say, something like that. So the idea that we need to disappear for a constant apology. How did we allow that?
Well, you mentioned that small book of mine called The Second Career of Adolf Hitler, and I think that is part of the answer to your question. Europe has been subjected to such a horrible trauma, to such a point in horror, with the death camps, with the Gestapo, with the executions of people in France and clearly other part of the continent, that it has wanted to step out of history. I also wrote a small fairy tale for children called Europe, with her all, like the Danish letter, with her whole, about the desire to go out of history and not to take part in anything, not to be a power anymore. But it's like being polite. If you want to be polite, you can't be polite alone. You have to be polite in a society of polite people. If you are polite alone, you are dead. And the same thing for wanting to go out of history. If other continents and other countries do not want to go out of history and want to go on as powers, you are lost, which is more or less what happened to Europe. Of course, after the death camps, there was nothing more legitimate than anti-racism. Everybody was anti-racist, and I certainly was, but everybody was, because anti-racism at that point was protecting a few races who needed protection. And that was perfect. No one could make any objection to that. But anti-racism has totally changed meaning in the 70s, I think, more or less, in 75, for instance, with the proclamation of the dogma of the inexistence of races, but races did not exist. And now people are convicted that races do not exist, which is very strange because it can be proclaimed only if you take races in the most racist, then pseudo-scientific exception of the world, that was something biological. Maybe races do not exist in a biological, more it is about biologic. I don't think it's true, actually, but I would not venture to have an opinion on the subject. But races are much more, of course, than a biological phenomenon. Races are, it's a very important word in all the language of the earth, and certainly European language. In poetry, the word appears all the time. In Greek tragedy, in everything, it's a word which is very strong in its meaning for centuries, and it is something which has relation to time, to cultures, to civilization, to family. It has enormous amount of meaning, and it is absurd to reduce it to a purely biological meaning, which is not very interesting anyway. And the proclamation of the dogma, the inexistence of the race, of the races, which is, I think, totally absurd, was a condition of global racism of people in Europe. But of course, the second career of Hitler is a career in reverse, upside down, Hitler as a phantom. Italianism has been so horrible, but it was like a cancer, and they call all sorts of great specialists, great doctors to operate the cancers of Europe. And at the beginning, they removed the part which has cancer, but they were so enthusiastic or so convinced that Hitlerianists were still there somewhere in the legs or in the ears or in the fangs or in the front. And they were
they keep finding everywhere.
Yes. Yeah. And they remove things which are absolutely, it's very good that they removed Hitlerianism itself and that sort of racism, but it's terrible that they remove things which are essential to the existence of a people, of a country, like President Macron, or old president at one point, has said that there is no such thing as a French culture, which is an imaginary concept. But they say all the time now that there is no such thing as Français de souche, that is autochthons in France, but it doesn't exist. That is a construction, but everything is a social construction, even sexes are now mental construction. They are so happy with the suppression of races, but the big deal now is, of course, the suppression of sexes, of genders. They want humanity totally liquefied, which can be sold and exchanged everywhere. And so, anti-racism, which was a very legitimate and very necessary thing, has totally changed meaning and has become genocidal, because saying that there are no races is wanted to suppress races which contradict your dogma of the inexistence of races.